Welcome to Talking Grit, a Detroit Lions podcast. Talking Grit is brought to you by the Monroe County Reporters, Monroe's top news source for police, fire, and community events. Follow them on Facebook, and for $2.99 a month, you can become a subscriber and get the news you crave even faster.
Welcome, everybody, back to Talking Grit. I'm Jason Harwood, and with me is Jacob Litton. We're going to do a quick game recap, just our initial thoughts on the game, who impressed us, who disappointed us, and maybe update some on the injuries that we saw and happen in the game. So I'm going to kick it off to you, Jacob. What were your initial thoughts on the game?
Obviously, didn't go the way that we wanted it to. Don't really care as much about the win and loss aspect, but really didn't really get to see a whole lot. The rain kind of slowed down the passing game. It was raining consistently in the first half, and then it was still wet and everything in the second half. We didn't get to see as much of Hendon Hooker as we were hoping to. Really overall, not a great game. What jumped out at you?
Actually, the main positive I had was the secondary, especially at the start of the game. I thought Rakestraw, Arnold, and Amik Robertson looked pretty sticky in coverage. I know Brandon Joseph got the interception, but if you look behind that, Rakestraw was defending the receiver right behind that, and it wouldn't have been complete anyways. So, ball probably shouldn't have been thrown in the first place. But I was encouraged by that. Like you said, rainy weather kind of put a little damper on, trying to judge what the performance is. There are some that were impressive and some that, disappointed us. So, first I'm going to ask you, what'd you think of the Jake Bates kick?
It was funny because he trotted out there, and especially with the rain and everything, a little nerve-wracking. Like, man, I just really wanted him to make the first one, at least get that one off. Ideally, you would have had several chances tonight to try to kick some field goals. You only end up having the one. At least he nailed it. So that was good to see that he actually hit it.
Yeah, he had some distance on it too. It was a pretty good kick. I mean, it wasn't directly down the middle, but on a 53-yarder or whatever it was, 53, 54. It was a pretty good kick. I thought they were going to bring him out. They had that where they stalled at like the 49-yard line right before half. I was wondering if they were going to bring him out just to kick that, because it would have been almost a run out the clock.
Maybe if it was indoors.
Yeah, I just thought that they, they got to lose basically, but it looks like they used the opportunity to give, Foxy, try to do a corner kick, like just practice corner kick in a, outdoor stadium. That's what I'm assuming. My son was very upset that they did not kick the field goal because he wanted to see Jake Bates kick a long one, but I tried to explain to him what I think happened, but I could see his point too. I mean, I didn't, unless they, I don't know. Maybe there was wind blowing. Another point I made to my son when he told me that was like, he probably felt pretty good making that kick. So probably didn't want to, ruin that good feeling and have him miss, like, even though it would have been like a 64, 65 yarder. So,
yeah. I don't think his morale is in a position to try to kick those just yet.
Yeah, I agree. And Vizel will just be happy they kicked a 53. It was encouraging to see him kick it outside. I mean, that is a positive, especially the up and down nature that he's had in practice. So that was nice that he made that for sure. It's the only points of the game for the Lions. So at least we got on the board, right?
Right. I mean, it wasn't like we didn't have more opportunities to kick field goals. They just didn't really take any of those chances, which you kind of expected as well.
Yeah, I mean, that's, you could say that's Dan Campbell's nature, but it's preseason. What do you have to gain from kicking, a 25-yard field goal or whatever? I mean, if you can't count on him to do that, then he's not going to make the team. You probably learn more about, going for it on fourth down, even though they were, largely unsuccessful with that during the game. But
it was disappointing that we couldn't at least get one of those shots in there, but
I know. Yeah, they had that one shot. I thought DPJ was going to bring it down. It was just a little bit out of his reach, so that would have been cool. Speaking of the wide receivers, the separation for wide receiver 3 just didn't happen this game, whether that's from poor quarterback play, the weather, I'm not sure, but certainly didn't. That question was not answered during this game, at least in my opinion.
Yeah, I don't think the rain helped. Obviously it's hard to get the ball off. They also didn't have as much time in the pocket to try to scan the field. Really, nobody stood out, and there really was there were no chances to, I guess. I mean, Donovan Peoples-Jones had that one really long catch on a ball that was thrown kind of behind him. He had to make an adjustment to. I think Fountain was only targeted one time, and that was broken up. The ball was kind of late getting there. Yeah, just, it didn't help the wide receiver battle at all.
No, it didn't. I mean, Sudfeld missed some. I mean, Sudfeld, in my opinion, played really poorly. Again, you can blame it on the weather, what you want, but it did not give me confidence have him come in and be the backup quarterback because the offense just stalled. Now, again, he's working with all second and third teamers, so I mean, you can use that in your judgment, but you're also playing second and third team on defense, so you should be able to move the ball a little bit. And the throws that he was making, that interception was terrible. He threw into triple coverage. Never should have thrown that, especially throwing across his body like that. I mean, Sudfeld doesn't have the arm to make that throw. Just not an impressive day for Sudfeld at all.
But it also made it worse that Hooker was able to move the ball.
Yeah.
He didn't look great, but I mean, I thought he looked decent. He looked okay. His first game action in a long time.
Yeah, he definitely, his legs make a big difference, right? I mean, if the play breaks down, he's got that tool in his back pocket that he can just go to. That helps move the chains, which is nice. His throws were in and out. I mean, I think he threw the ball better than Sudfeld, to be honest with you, but there were some times that he missed some throws too. And then you take, I don't know where he got the concussion. He did get hit in the head, and had that face mask. It could have been there. That collision didn't look like it was too much in the helmet. It looked almost shoulder to shoulder. So I don't know, when he trucked that guy.
Yeah. No, he lowered the shoulder into him. I don't think that was helmet to helmet.
Yeah.
I think you're right. I think it was, he got hit in the head and kind of drug down like that.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. I mean, that whole shoulder down thing, I mean, that'll get your team behind you. I mean, that was an old Stafford move, right? Stafford used to do one of those plays every once in a while, get one of those angry runs. So I did like that. I don't think he got injured on that play. I don't know if I necessarily want seeing him do that all the time, and especially not a preseason game. Probably not the smartest move, but it's hard to tell these guys not to play football when they're playing football, right?
Well, especially when it's been so long since he's had the opportunity.
Yeah, exactly. It was just
he's
disappointing.
Out there feeling it again for the first time, so.
I know, and he was moving the ball, too. It was exciting. I think all of us were, we all wanted to see Hendon play regardless, but then the way Sudfeld played in the first half, we really wanted to see Hendon come out for, another reason, just to get Sudfeld off the field, essentially. And then, to have Sudfeld back on there. My boys were... It was that came on right about the time the Tigers game came on, so they moved on to the Tigers right at that point.
They'd seen it now.
They'd yell upstairs, "How's it going?" I'm like, "It's still 14-3. Nothing really happened." So, let's quickly move on here to which players impressed you. So, do you have a few players that impressed you in the game?
Definitely kind of what you talked about at the beginning, the cornerback play. I mean, that's what we talked about. We really wanted to see Terrion Arnold, Ennis Rakestraw. We want to see how they did. And Amik Robertson that was also out there. Really, I mean, I think all three of them played a really good game. The coverage was very good. Obviously wasn't their starters that were out there that they were defending. But, I mean, you got to guard the guys in front of you, and I think they definitely did a great job of that. And, the interception that we got was the safety, Joseph, but it was a coverage pick. I mean, he had nowhere to go with the ball, and he had no time. I definitely think the corners, stood out to me the most.
I agree. Vaki I'd agree on there. He had a couple nice runs. He, that running back room is there's a lot of pieces in that room. So I was hoping to see a little bit more of Jefferson, because when we saw him in practice, he had some um, really nice plays, but he just you know he had some poor offensive line play, and he didn't have a lot of room to run. But Vaki also ran behind that line and made some impressive runs. So it is what it is. But I did like Vaki. Hendon looked good. I thought his mobility, he looked pretty confident out there. He it kind of looked like the opposite of what we thought Sudfeld was. Sudfeld's like the veteran, but he was holding the ball too long and just making poor decisions with the ball. So I thought Hendon did all right for especially his first game back, playing in game action. I thought Malik Jefferson, number 52, he looked he showed out a couple really nice plays. On that 3rd and 9, there was a 3rd and 9 play. I think it was in the 3rd or 4th quarter. He just sniffed out a screenplay and knocked it way back in the backfield, and so that was really nice. And then he had another tackle. I have notes on that he made another nice tackle. So he showed out pretty good. So not I don't know if he's gonna make the team, but I've noticed his number a couple times, so that means he made some plays.
He actually was one of the people that stood out at practice as well. I mean, he was kind of late getting there to the team and everything like that. As far as like the impact that he's making right now, though, I mean, he's doing pretty much anything that you can ask for him.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, he's out there. I mean, he's out there in the 3rd and 4th quarter, which doesn't bode well, when you're out there that late in a preseason game, but it's only preseason game 1. We'll see where he shows up in 2 and game 3. We've talked about Sudfeld. That was probably the major disappointment of the game. Was there anybody else that you were just kind of disappointed you, or just didn't live up to what your expectations were?
I guess if I had to pick or call somebody out, it would be James Houston. Just because,
Exactly.
you really want him to make an impact. You want to see more out of him, especially in a game, today where you're not going against the starters or anything like that. If, this is a guy that was potentially going to be starting for us. This is, what we were hoping for, is that he was going to be an impact pass rusher. And we haven't seen that in practice, and it didn't translate into the game either.
Yeah, I was specifically watching him. I know Eric Schlitt tweeted out that he's doing better holding the edge, which is good, but in his pass rush, which is why you're primarily keeping him, right? I mean, you're keeping him for that awesome pass rush. It did not show out. And so, again, he's playing the second team offensive line. You would hope, if he's potentially going to be a starter or out there, playing, maybe not starter, but maybe second team snaps, he should be able to beat that guy, especially if he's the guy that we saw in the, his rookie season. It just didn't translate tonight, unfortunately for him, and kind of getting the feeling that's the way it is. And, the way we've been hearing practice, his name has not been, coming up a lot in the practice report. So that was my player too, that, part of that's expectations too, right? I mean, I don't think he did anything necessarily bad in the game, but we would expect him to get a sack or get some pressures.
There's some sort of pressure, right?
Right. So,
because we did have the rookie Nate Lynn. He was number 57, and he actually was back there a lot. I mean, he was making an impact.
Yeah, he definitely was. And then, what's I can never pronounce his name. The other guy that got a sack starts with an I. Iniku. Yeah. So he had a nice sack, and I thought for sure he's going to get a penalty because he kind of just jumped on the quarterback's back, but he pulled himself to the side, so he didn't land on him. So that was that was a good play too. So
that's pretty early on too, right?
Yeah,
was that like
it was
like driving.
Yeah. I call you out too because on when we were talking to Justin Rogers on Monday, you talked about Kyle Pecco, and he didn't play today, didn't dress. That's in regular season, that's a bad thing. But in the preseason, that's a pretty good sign that, he's, on the cusp of making the team.
Spot. Right.
Yeah. I mean, but it also maybe bad news because, he's going to take the DJ Reader spot. So might be thinking that, he's going to start the season on the pup list or something like that. So you could read it that way too. But for him, that's a good thing. He's going to probably make the roster. So anything else that stood out to you this game or thoughts that you had?
I mean, if we're going to talk about the injuries, we lost another defensive tackle went down, David Barra.
Mm-hmm.
That looks like that's, he was the one that was carted off, correct?
Bada was the one that he walked off, but he couldn't put pressure on the leg. So they think that's Achilles injury. That was
Connor
earlier.
Connor
Galvin was carted off, and
both of those look like long-term injuries.
Yeah, that's what Dan Campbell alluded to in the post-game press conference. Also, Hendon Hooker and Antoine Green both have concussions, so they're going to be in concussion protocol. So we'll see if they'll be in game 2 or not. I don't know. I mean, then it's the Nate Sudfeld show.
That really stinks.
Yeah. So, and that kind of stinks for just the receivers trying to show out too. If we're gonna have poor quarterback play, it's really hard for those guys to stand out. So that's something to think about. We're gonna have a more in-depth look at this game and the training camp practices leading up. I'll be at training camp practice on Monday evening, so I got the evening one. So I'll have some notes. I'm gonna actually take some notes, Jacob, and I will report back to you. I took a ton of notes in this preseason game. Did you take notes?
I didn't.
Yeah, exactly. I'm prepared. You're not. All right. So
for the preseason, you're prepared for the preseason game.
I know. Hey, I did. I was practicing just like the players. I was practicing getting ready for regular season. So,
well, the difference is that I can rewatch this game and these plays over and over and over again. So I don't have to take the notes live. I can enjoy it live.
Yeah, no, that's true. 100% true. But I wanted to talk about it right afterwards, and I just wanted to be sort of prepared. So,
gotcha.
So
I do want to say something that
go ahead.
Golden Tate said at the end of the show. And, they were talking about how, it didn't look very good. They were got a lot of game film and everything to go over. And then Golden Tate made the comment, it's never as good as you think, but it's also never as bad as you think that it was. Mm-hmm. So basically there's positive and negatives to every single play, no matter how good or bad that you think that it was. And, obviously they're going to look at in depth every single snap. They're going to analyze everything and go over it. So there's some positives to be had in a 14-3 preseason loss.
Yeah, no one should be jumping off the bridge that this is not a Super Bowl contender team. None of our I wouldn't say none of our starters, but minimal starters played. Bad weather. They were going for it in situations that they normally wouldn't go for it. Just they're working on situational play. They're not working on, trying to win that game. Dan Campbell could care less about winning that game. Everybody, as a competitor, you want to win a game, but they were just working on what they needed to work on. So no one needs to worry. I'm not worried. I think, we have, the next 2 games are going to be largely similar to what this game was. And then we're going to play, Stafford and, Goff are going to have their showdown on week 1. So nothing to worry about, but it was encouraging to see some of the, players on the bubble play well. The wide receiver room left me disappointed just because no one stuck out. James Houston left me disappointed. Sudfeld left me disappointed, but I did like Vaki a lot. I thought Hendon Hooker showed out well. So positives to take in there, so I'm happy with that. But anything else you want to add?
No.
Yeah. All right. Well, for Jacob, I'm Jason. Go Lions.